Hey everyone, so this is what the first bind I'm going to be teaching you looks like. So this bind is probably the easiest. It's very similar to this bind right here. The only difference is that we're actually going to be creating a wrap before we bind it, and it just gives this trick a little more flash and a little bit more spice. First thing, we're just going to want to throw a normal forward throw just like that. From here, we are going to swing on to our index finger just like that. So we're swinging over our index finger. We're not going under, we're going over our index finger just like that. Once we are here, we are going to do a wrap that looks just like that. And how we're going to do that is we're going to swing just like we're doing a double on, but instead of letting the yo-yo land over our finger, we're actually going to take this non-throw hand index finger and move it under the yo-yo just like that, and that'll create that wrap. So I'll show you that again. We're swinging over just like that. We're gonna let this, as we swing the yo-yo over just like that, instead of just keeping our finger in this spot right here, we're gonna actually move it under the yo-yo just like that to create that wrap. I'll show you that in slow motion real quick. And once we've created that wrap, we're just gonna pull up with this hand, pinch here, and pull down with our non-throw hand, and it should bind just like that. We want to kind of have this like nice smooth motion just like that. The second bind I'm going to be teaching you looks just like this. So this bind can be a little bit difficult depending on what yo-yo you have, depending on how your response system is set up. But first things first, let's just learn how to do the trick. So first, we're going to want to swing the yo-yo between our arms just like that. And as we get about to this point, we're going to want to let go of the yo-yo and swing it up towards the ceiling. And we also want to have our arm positioned out like this instead of right here, because if it's right here, it's going to be kind of hard to do. So we kind of want our arm out here a little bit so we can swing in between that arm just like that. And then, like I said, once we get it right about here, up in this swing motion, up towards the top of our swing motion, we're going to let go of the string in our non-throw hand, and we're going to swing the yo-yo up, and that should cause it to bind. And you'll notice that if you do it too softly, you might kind of get this tail here where it kind of snags up a little bit, or if you do it too hard, it might not bind at all. And so to kind of combat these issues, we can kind of change how hard or slow that we let the yo-yo swing up. So if your response system is a little bit snaggy, we're going to want to swing up a little bit harder. But if it's a little bit slippy, we are going to want to swing up a little bit less hard. So we just need to find that balance depending on which yo-yo you're using, and kind of figure out where it is you can get that perfect clean bind. Moving on to the third bind, this is what it looks like. Just like that. So this bind is pretty similar to the one we just learned. Just as the other one, we're going to go onto an undermount, and we're going to swing the yo-yo between our arms just like that. But instead, we're going to have our hand positioned just like this, with our fingers out like this. And as the yo-yo swings over, we're going to allow these strings to swing over our hand just like that. You see they're swung over. We're going to let go with our non-throw hand finger just like that, and it should bind. So, just as before, we're swinging between, just kind of like a brain twister motion, just as before. And we're going to let this hand, it's going to be closer to our body just like this. Instead of being in front, it's going to be behind. We're going to let it swing just like that, and then let go, and it should bind. And we're going to do that in one fluid motion. It should look just like that. And just as with the other trick, if we give this too much power, it's not going to bind at all, just like that. And if we don't give it enough power, it might snag on us. So we want to find that perfect balance of releasing at the right time, and we want to release just as it's going over our hand, just right there as it's going over our hand, and that'll give us that nice bind just like that. Moving on to the fourth bind, it looks just like this. So this bind can be a little bit difficult because we're kind of doing the slack motion here. And the way that we are going to do this is that we are going to go off onto our index finger just like that. It's going to land in a trapeze, go off just like that. And we're going to swing the yo-yo just like that, almost kind of like if you're doing a jade whip. But we're going to swing the yo-yo off just like that and let go of the string off of our non-throw hand as we swing it just like that. So we're swinging it and letting go just like that. And we're going to want to swing it right above our hand. We're not going to want to swing it all the way up here or all the way down here. We want to swing it right below our hand just like that. And to make this bind actually work, we're going to want this slack to go into the gap of the yo-yo just like that. So right here, we're letting that slat go into the gap of the yo-yo. And you can see here these two strings, the string that right here that's formed, we want that to go into the gap of the yo-yo right as close as we can get it to our hand. Because if we're letting it swing down here, it's just not going to have enough string to grab. So we want to let it go as high as we can and then grab it. If your yo-yo is a little bit snaggy, you can go a little bit lower, but just as with the other binds, you need to find that balance of how high you need to go to get it to bind. But if it keeps slipping like that, we want to have it a little bit higher. Okay, so now we're moving on to the final bind. First thing, we're going to get into an undermount, just as with the other binds. We're going to get into an undermount, and we're going to want this string right here going in front of our middle finger, just like that. So instead of it going over our fingers just like that, we're going to want it to go in front. And then we are going to swing the yo-yo just like this, just swing it back and forth. And we're going to let it swing over our throw hand just like that. So it's going over just like that, and it's going to go in front of these strings. We don't want it to land on these strings, we want it to go in front of those strings. And we're going to let go with this string on our non-throw hand, and that'll cause it to bind. And we want to do that in one fluid motion, just like that. So if this bind is not working for you, it could be that you're waiting too long to let it release. Just as with the other ones, we want to release it right as it's going over top of that hand. If we wait too long, it could cause it to snag or something like that. So right as it goes over, just release, and that should get you just like that. So once again, we're here, undermount, that string going in front, and then swing the yo-yo and let it swing over and release, and that's the bind.